If you were playing first-person shooters back in the 1990s, the chances are you were playing either Doom or Unreal Tournament, both of which are what's known as an arena shooter. Fast forward 15-20 years into the present though, and we're finally getting another look at a brand new arena shooter, the reboot of the original Doom. Now, it's been a while since we've seen a more traditional arena shooter as a AAA title, so let's have a look and see what these are all about. The thing with Doom is that it goes for a more simplistic style of development. It uses the model of less is more. There are only 9 maps, 6 game modes, and 7 different unique weapons, give or take if you count the demon weapons. So in total, there's not actually necessarily a large variety of content, if you like. Especially a lot less than what you would normally see in a modern AAA big shooter like Call of Duty or Battlefield, for sure. The thing about these maps though is that they are small and yet incredibly detailed. There's so many different routes that you can take through each map that it really pays off trying to learn each map so that you can then use the different routes to your own advantage in combat. We've managed to get a look at pretty much all of the 9 maps so far. They've been released in a trailer and they all look very demonic and kind of dark and set in either factories, industrial factories, or in a hellish base setting. So it all fits within this sort of hell fantasy world, if you like, which looks incredibly cool. There are 6 game modes, as I mentioned, that are in the game. Some of them look different and interesting, but it remains to be seen as to whether they actually play well. Other standards are there as well. There's some modified versions of classic game modes like Team Deathmatch and Domination. So if you don't like change, they're there to keep you happy. There are only a few weapons, 7 to be exact, as I mentioned, and this means that the game then becomes more about learning to master each individual weapon rather than learning which is the best in each class, something that Battlefield 4 is a big culprit of in my opinion. This simplified weapon system is almost like a rock, paper, scissors setup where each gun is badass at one thing but falls down in another area. For example, the shotgun at close range does absolutely massive damage, but it's easily beaten out by a sniper at long range and is likely to be beaten out by a rifle at medium. This makes it a lot easier to balance and leaves much less room for error, so for me, I'm glad to see that there's only 7 weapons in the game. I think if they were to have more, then it just increases the room for error, and having any less would kind of make the variety a little bit boring, a little bit bland, so having 7 is a good sweet spot, I think. I'm glad to see that this is the route that ID Software are taking. Something that I was quite surprised to see in this type of game is the fairly long time to kill. You'd expect this to be quite a contradictory feature given the trend of fast-paced movement systems incorporating fast time to kills, but no, Doom seems to want to adopt a fairly long time to kill, which combined with the weapon balancing, the lack of health regen, and the lack of aiming down sights, makes the game a much more skill-focused game. It's all going to be about learning how to use each weapon effectively, training your aim, learning how to manage your health so you don't get caught out, learning how to utilise the movement system properly, and using the map layout to your advantage. That's what's going to get you the kills, that's what's going to win you the match. This focus on making the game much more skill-based makes me very excited indeed, because it's something that I think a lot of other first-person shooters are kind of straying away from. It's now all based on weapon stats and other statistics like that, whereas now a lot more of the focus is being put on you as a player training yourself up and learning how to play the game properly. Another major feature of Doom is Snap Map, which is similar to the Forge in Halo 5, or any other Halo for that matter. Potentially, this expands the life cycle of the game immensely. I mean, look at games like Gmod and previous Halo titles. They still have a thriving community thanks to in-game development tools, allowing people to create and share new levels and game modes. It's practically in-game modding tools. I mean, look how mods have benefited games like Fallout and Skyrim, games that also had official tools released separately, games published by the same publisher, I might add. Bethesda knows what's up. Something else that I'm quite happy to see is the inclusion of a single-player campaign. There's no need to worry about paying for a $60 multiplayer-only experience that has the possibility of dying out within the first week of release. This game seems to be a serious trend breaker. Other recent trends that this game is breaking is the movement system of futuristic shooters. This is a futuristic shooter, and it's not going the same way that all of the others seem to have gone. There's nothing overly special or wild that your character can do with their movement other than double jump and move quickly. That's it, going back to just keeping it simple in what's hopefully for the better. There's no sprinting, there's no wall running, there's none of that tat. It's all just about the basic movement and double jumping. Moving on to performance now, if we look at all of the trailers for this game, they are all in 60 frames per second, so it looks like the devs know exactly what they're doing and exactly what audience they're targeting. Rainbow Six Siege, Battlefield 4 and other much more successful first-person shooter games have all had 60 frames per second trailers in the past, which has been a good way of indicating whether the devs are on the right track. In fact, multiple times during the press conferences have the developers expressed their concern for having this game run at 60 frames per second at 1080p. Not entirely sure if that's still relevant for consoles. It might have changed since then, since this press conference was back at E3 2015, so almost a year now, but hopefully it is. The system requirements for this game worry me a little, with the recommended being a beefy i7 3770 and a GTX 970. A pretty high-end build, but a lot of recent titles are being put with these similar requirements, and most of those games run absolutely fine, so I wouldn't worry too much. The one thing that does worry me is that this game kind of reminds me of Titanfall given the number of maps, modes and weapons, so I'm wondering if it's possible that it could go the same way as that, where it thrives for a week and then the player base completely flatlines. However, with the community modding tools and the inclusion of a single player campaign, I'm remaining pretty hopeful. So if you're looking for a conclusion from this video, all that I can say is that I am dead excited for this game, definitely going to be picking it up at launch, if not a couple of days after, to see how the launch goes, but it's something that is definitely on my radar. Let me know what your thoughts are down below, I would love to hear them. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and I shall catch you in the next one.